All right. It's time to get this show on the road. Security misconceptions. What is this going to be all about? Well, first of all, can you think of what www stands for? What it stands for in, say, www.sans.org? Think about it. World Wide Web? Not so much. More like the Wild Wild West, right? That's where we're at right now. Folks, I'm pleased to see so many people have joined us. My name is Chris Dale, and I will be hosting this presentation for you tonight. Right now, I'm presenting off from Bergen. It is 9:30 in the afternoon, and it's nice weather, blue skies. Very rare occasion, to be honest, in Bergen. Normally, we have a lot of rain up here. I trust all of you can hear me. I'm just going to double check for a second. Yeah, I can hear myself, and that means you guys can hear me as well. So my current role today is I'm head of cybersecurity at a company called Netsecurity. We're about 58, 59 employees, and we're basically, well, I've been building and running the penetration testing unit and incident response unit for about 5+ years now. And I'm moving into something new very soon. So there's exciting times to come. Yeah, amid this COVID-19 mess, I'm actually going to build up a new company, and you're going to hear more from me on that soon in June. That's going to be exciting. I'm also a certified instructor for SANS, and I've been teaching for SANS for many, many years, and I've been a certified instructor for the past 2-3 years. And you can find my social media on the mentioned URLs. Now, in the picture here, I'm also sharing my web camera so you guys can see me, but on the picture here, I'm actually holding not just a baseball bat, it's what we call an information security motivational device, an ISMD. Very handy if you need to force policies into someone, or just maybe generally cause some havoc or craziness going on. So today's agenda is going to be misconceptions within cybersecurity. And with misconceptions, I'm talking about things that maybe we got the wrong ideas on, or where I want to challenge you as an audience, and I want you to think of what Chris means or why I might be wrong. Hopefully, I can help establish some good ideas and challenge some already established concepts. But the goal of this presentation is basically to spark discussions, to challenge what has been established already, and hopefully just create healthy discussions out of this, all right? I might be trampling on some people's toes. I hope I won't offend anyone, but it is the internet, right? What are we gonna do? Hopefully not come to my house and beat me up. I'm just kidding. The first misconception I wanna talk about is this. The internet is a happy place. Now, the internet is great. It's phenomenal for learning and for doing business and all kinds of things, okay? But it's not just a place where unicorns can fart rainbows. It is also a place where we're just really a ping away from hackers and criminals. You're really in the worst neighborhood that you can imagine yourself being in. You are in the same street, living, consider this your living area. This is the vicinity around your house, where you have murderers, people who will murder someone if you pay up ransom, using escrow services and so on, where you have drug lords, trafficking organizations, terrorist organizations. Everything is just next door when you are online. And to me, I find that very scary because I got 2 kids now. I got 2 daughters, 3 and 5 years old now, and they're already online exploring, you know? And I have to basically control what they see, what they can access, and guide them in this very, very villainous and dangerous territory that we call the internet. Now, every day, cyber criminals, they are hitting the jackpot. They are hitting the jackpot almost every day. They're earning millions. The numbers are very dramatic. If you look at some research that has been done, primarily by Norton and also quoted here by The Guardian, we are estimating that 130 billion euros were stolen from consumers. Now, this is actually a mistake from The Guardian, but these numbers here representing money that has been stolen. It's actually a lie, because we're looking at losses here, okay? We're looking at losses, but this is from 2017, and the numbers are huge. We're going to look at how much the criminals earn in a few slides. However, looking at these numbers in terms of damages and also the potential revenue from bad guys is going to be dramatic. We're going to zoom in on a terrorist organization called the Dark Overlords. The Dark Overlords, they pride themselves in hacking medical institutions. So, for example, plastic surgery facilities where celebrities go, for example, is high on the target list from the Dark Overlords. Insurance companies are very high on the list. They want to target these organizations, and they want to hold, say, a VIP of that organization ransom, demanding them to pay money for them not to disclose sensitive information about their private lives, pictures of surgeries, or whatnot. They are really, really bad. They are acting with no sense of human life or remorse or any type of endangerment of human life. They are really, they even call themselves cyber terrorists. They also hacked into Netflix, I believe, held them ransom for Orange is the New Black, so the series Orange is the New Black, and allegedly Netflix paid these guys to not have it released. But basically, these guys are pretty nasty, I would say. If we take a look at some posts that we've found members of the Dark Overlords posting on, well, marketplaces and hidden forums on the darknet, places where you will only get access to if you have an account and you have been vetted by other criminals. Basically, if you can prove that you're a criminal, you'll get into these forums. And you will find some accounts that have a lot of posting history and are allegedly members of the Dark Overlords. Some of these posts are looking for new members of the organization. They're looking for more members to help them hack and help them earn money from hacking. So here you have such a job posting. They're looking for someone goal-oriented, whom have work ethics. In fact, strong work ethics is posted here. You're looking at someone who has a lot of experience, more than 10 years of experience throughout different fields here. They're looking at someone who is able to do worldwide deployments and so on. And what do you think they will pay someone to join the Dark Overlords? Well, the same post here, written by a member of this organization, you can see his post history on the forum. This guy is known to be bad. He has proof that he has hacked so many organizations. Well, if you work on a salary, on a monthly basis, they will pay you £50,000 per month. That's just a starting salary, by the way. You will get bumped up if you are good enough and you stay. But 50,000 British pounds per month, that's also tax-free, mind you. You have to do your own money laundering, but I'm sure these criminals have their ways and have advice for you how to do this. That's a lot of money. Or you could, of course, work on a commission and get profits per engagement that you're in. So basically, if you significantly contribute to a project that they're running, you can get paid more per project, and basically it is a potential very fruitful deal as well. You could also ask yourself, how does this organization hire someone and vet how much they know? How do you, as a criminal, hire someone else to become a criminal when everyone is supposed to be anonymous and you're not supposed to know who I am and I'm not supposed to know who you are and so on? Well, they have this testing regime where you will actually have to prove that you're a criminal. You will have to hack into organizations, contribute in some way where you no longer can be accused, or you shouldn't no longer be able to be accused of being, say, a police officer or an impersonator. You are a bad guy by doing their testing regime. So they have this way of testing you. Cyberterrorism threat group, pretty interesting, and they're paying you a lot of money to do this. These are the people that we're currently up against, that we're currently defending against. If they hack into your email and they find evidence of you cheating on someone, for example, on your husband or wife, they will extort you, personally extort you. And if you don't pay, they just give you the middle finger and they release all of their material to the rest of the illegal hacking community and let them have at it to see if someone can ruin your life unless you pay, of course. Quick reminder, this is 10 years ago when Norton reported on that cybercrime is now surpassing in revenue, gain revenue, cybercrime has surpassed smuggling of drugs. So instead of putting drugs on your body and trying to travel with drugs and getting drugs shipped and so on, it's actually more profitable to be in cybercrime. And this is now more than 10 years ago. This is from 2009, right? So we're talking about 11 years ago soon. Crazy. How could, just consider that gap. If we were there then, now 10 years later, we're going to be in a completely different position, and the bad guys are not just spending their money on cocktails and fancy resorts and having fun, you know, they're going to invest, just like the drug cartels down in South America are doing. They are investing in their own GSM networks. They're building their own infrastructure just so they can communicate and be safe, and they're going to do the same thing in cyber as well. All right. So that's my first misconception. Starting out easy. The internet is not a happy place. What about misconception number 2? Cybersecurity is about saying no. If you can say no, you're going to be a good CISO. You're going to be the best CISO. Just keep things under control, deny, reject, restrict, and you're going to be fantastic. This is so wrong on so many levels that it's kind of scary. Organizations will require to innovate, and very often security is looked at as the no department, the department you want to avoid, because if you don't avoid them, they're going to shut down your project. They're going to tell you no. What the hell were you thinking? Are you crazy? You're going to move to the cloud? Are you crazy? You know who these guys are. Very often these guys, when I say guys, I mean whatever, right? Whatever gender. I call them GOGs, grumpy old guys. Companies very often have these grumpy old guys. They've been in the same company for years. They don't want change. They don't want to try something new. They want to go to work 8, 9 in the morning, go back to home 4 or 5 in the afternoon and read their newspaper. They don't want to read the latest digest of technology news. They just want to have the same normal. I meet these type of people very frequently, and they can be hard to make realize or to have them understand where an organization needs to go for the organization to innovate properly and to stay in touch with reality and where the world is currently heading. Unfortunately, the business tend to rely on these guys. So consider the C-level executives. They tend to look at these individuals and treasure them. Yeah, of course, Bob, he's been with the company since 1990. He's one of our most best employees. Thing is, Bob hasn't updated himself in years. He don't know what is possible in the cloud. He doesn't know what is possible with infrastructure as code and secure development life cycles and so on. He just doesn't stay relevant anymore. Still, he's the one being listened to. Such a problem. In fact, I've seen this problem a couple of times. I was recently hired into a position of a CISO myself, which I worked for a medium-sized oil and gas company in Norway for about 3 years. And acting as a young CISO, I had, of course, naturally many ideas and innovations to make things better, at the same time usable and friendly and so on. And this one time after I was hired, I was planning a meetup in Bergen, in a brown bar in Bergen. I was basically telling my friends and colleagues from the industry, hey, why don't we meet up in this bar? Because I have a hacker friend from Germany coming in, and I want to show him the town, and I also want to show him the community. Why don't we sit down and have a good time with some beers and enjoy ourselves? Sure enough, we had a meeting. We didn't muster a lot of people, but we did muster some people. And while at this meeting, I'm sitting with 2 senior individuals. They've been in the industry for a long time. And I pitched to them my beautiful idea of security is all about not saying no. It's always about yes, but. You never say no. As a CISO, as a security, all you gotta say yes, but this is how we do it. Yes, but never no. You know what happened in that meeting, in that meetup? I was made a fool. I was ridiculed. I was literally laughed at and told to grow up. Chris, you need to grow up. What is the matter with you? That's what I was told. But nowadays, people more and more are starting to listen. Security is all about yes, but. And I love this quote from Marty Sklar, one of the Disney Imagineers. Don't tell me you can't because. Tell me you can if. You can if. You can move to the cloud. You can muster up and process credit card data if I have the following restrictions. If the cloud environment is a hybrid environment where none of the private data leaves my own servers, but the front ends are all in, say, for example, the cloud. There's always yes, but here's suggested architecture. That but might cost enough that your business decide not to do it. However, it's not no. There's always yes. Yes, you can move to the cloud. Yes, you can. We have to strive to not say no. We need to practice always to go about yes. This is how you do it. Security should not be a hindrance of innovation. The moment it becomes hindrance, you will be neglected, you won't be used, and people will start to consider your department as a negative function to the company. Instead, security should stimulate innovation. This is how you transition to the cloud. This is how you process healthcare data. This is how you go about things. At the same time as staying at a necessary level of security. This is key, necessary level of security. We have to bargain on security. It's not just secure or not. There is usability, availability, confidentiality inside of this sphere that we need to consider. And sometimes when locking down things, it will hurt, for example, the usability of a product. Hence, we can't lock it down. We need to mitigate in other ways. We need to consider alternative ways of protecting our data, even though we couldn't lock it down as we wanted to. So here's a statement that I had. So we can't have WordPress because it might get hacked. That's a statement that I had. You might have heard similar things. No, we can't use Joomla. We can't use Ghost CMS. We can't use WordPress because let's look at all the websites out there that's being hacked all the time. In fact, a security group that I talked to, they refused to have a website because they could get hacked. Now, isn't this kind of weird? Isn't it kind of annoying? So the thing is, WordPress and any software, whatever has been made by man, can of course be hacked. But same with WordPress. I'm running WordPress on my own. I'm running WordPress on my own blog. But what I've done to make it reasonably secure is that I have a little plugin that whenever I publish a new blog post, converts all my blog posts into static HTML and puts it out on the front web server. So if you look at my web server today, all it's doing is it's processing static HTML. There is no dynamic processing of code whatsoever. If I want to process dynamic code, I have to enter a separate server where I have to provide credentials over HT access and also provide login to WordPress. And that builds up enough security for me to feel reasonably safe that if someone's gonna break in, they probably deserve to break in. Huh, interesting. Here's another statement. I want to access all my data online without a proper password. And if you are a security professional right now, you might be doing like this character is doing, ripping out your hair, going, what? You want what? You want to be online, accessing all your data. So that is banking, financial, all that stuff without a password or without a proper password even. That's true. Now you might think that's not possible, but that's how we have it today in Norway. And it's called BankID. You have to supply your birth date, you have to have a phone, and you have to have the phone number. And just like that, you can log in. On your phone, you have to specify a PIN code. The PIN code, 4 digits on most people's phones. This simple technology, BankID, will give you access to everything in your personal life in Norway. It will give you access to government and social services, educational, so all my grades from high school and universities. Banking, I can log on with BankID right now and start transferring money left and right. I can even access my healthcare data, as I've done on this slide here. So on this slide here, you can see the actual flow of the login. First, this is in Norwegian, by the way. But first, you can see that I'm required to put in a cell phone number here, 8 digits, and a birth date, which is not very secret, is it? Now, the moment you get this up and running, you put your credentials in, BankID will basically send to your phone a little checkbox or a little message that you need to click OK on. And you need to verify that the word, as you can see here, which basically means just beautiful hipster, that word needs to match what you have on your cell phone. You click OK, put in your PIN code, and just like that, you're now accessing my critical information up here and healthcare data without specifying anything else than having a PIN code, having someone's phone, and also having to put in the mobile phone number and a birth date. And that's accessible. That's usable. That's very friendly for the users. And you might argue, is it secure enough? And the Norwegian and many other European governments, they have said, yes, this is secure enough. I keep hearing all the time different claims. We can't move to the cloud because our data has to be stored in some country and so on. There's so many opportunities with the cloud, and the cloud can be used in many good hybrid ways. You can't use your phone to access healthcare data. Just a few months ago, my daughter got sick. And 15 minutes afterwards, I'm on the phone with screen sharing on my phone here with a doctor from Europe, and we're discussing the health of my child, and that he has access to the journal, everything, using nothing but my phone. And of course, we can't use multi-factor authentication because our users can't. We'll talk about this soon. Windows NT server can't be fixed because I agree, you can't move away from Windows NT when you have it, because the systems won't support running on a modern operating system. But you can mitigate risk. You can do so many other things that will allow you to be secure. For example, segment things away from the rest of the LAN so the local area network doesn't expose those critical high-risk systems, so that you have better control of the privileges and more. And in my opinion, we have to stop listening to these grumpy old men. And I'm not trying to step on any toes here, but just know that we have to go from saying no to saying yes. Most of the time, there are solutions in reach. And most of the time, us security professionals, we're not the ones to judge what is within reach to make it secure or not, okay? All right, so that's a heavy topic. I'm just gonna quickly check to see if there's any questions, because I saw that there was some coming in. Actually, I can't find the questions tab right now. Where is it? Let's see, questions. There we go, popped up. All right, are cams muted until Q&A? No clue, dude. Dropping the app, blah, 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 blah. All right, loving this, awesome. Okay, cool. That is really useful, simple advice. All right, so I'm gonna continue, and I'm gonna address the questions at the end. Wait, your question is, what's the WordPress module? It is called Simply Static, if I remember correctly. All right, awesome. So let's move on, and at the end of the presto, I will make time for questions, all right? Cool. All right, so let's go. Password managers are too complex for regular users. And I know some of you are thinking about, yeah, because I know Bob, this guy Bob, down in the workplace, like he's down in the factory, he doesn't touch computers, he doesn't know how a password manager works. Let me zoom into this. Here's my statement. It's in Norwegian. I'll translate it for you. It's on Twitter. It's not the best place, but it is what it is. Now, I type out, it is amazing It's amazing that people who can use a computer cannot use a simple program to administrate passwords. It should in theory be simpler. Put one password in, search, find all your other passwords, and paste the password. How low should the threshold be? And the feedback I got from some in the community was simply, I don't think you show that you understand how regular people have it when they encounter cyber or cybersecurity. Okay, there are people who cannot use, for example, this, all right? There are. Does that mean we can't implement multi-factor authentication for everyone? No. Even though there are people who can't use this, there are people who can't use a password manager. Those are going to be the exceptions. But for most people can use a password manager. That's my claim. People even tell me, security professionals in the industry, they say, Chris, you are talking to regular people. Regular people, they can't use a VPN. Is this too hard? Really? You can't click protection on when you join a wireless network or before you join or whatever? Is it really that hard? I don't care what password manager you use. You can write it down if you want to. You can have a book like this, write down all your passwords. And security people, they come to me, but Chris, what if someone steals your book? My passwords are not in there, by the way, but you might have one, or many of your employees might have a book with passwords. Put it in your diary, I tell them. Put your passwords in a diary. That's your password manager for the rest of your life. But Chris, what if someone steals the diary? Yeah. What if someone steals the diary? That's an HR problem. If someone goes into your backpack, if someone goes into your stuff, that's not a technology problem. You're trying to protect yourself from cybercrime. You're trying to protect yourself from countries doing illegal hacking and so on. Not necessarily your neighbor. So this is going to be good enough. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for implementing ways for security to become good enough. But what about exceptions? There's always exceptions, but we must not forget the rule. And the rule is you are forced to use multi-factor authentication. All right? That's if you are deploying a new system today, that's how you deploy it. Behind a single sign-on, whatever, multi-factor authentication. But of course, there's going to be exceptions. Exceptions are perfectly fine, but keep them exceptions. Don't make the exception to become the rule, because that's how I see normal companies today implement security. They are working by the exceptions instead of the opposite. You need to have rules and guidelines. This is how we do it, and then make tactical and realistic decisions based on when you break the rules. For example, you never want to try to implement something to 100%. Okay, when I say multi-factor authentication is for everyone, what I'm really saying is it's for everyone within, say, the help desk group. So an Active Directory is within all your C-levels, all your help desk groups, all your developers. Yeah, they will have multi-factor turned on. And then inside of those groups, there are some few exceptions. Some people who cannot, maybe that C-level executive that we all know, who will fight and bite and tear down that multi-factor authentication until he basically is allowed an exception. Exceptions are fine, but you know how we deal with exceptions. We can, for example, maybe limit their privileges so they don't have access to everything. So once they get hacked, it's not that big of a deal. Maybe we can give them a token, like a USB token. So I have customers whom every day work in overalls and hard hats, right? They have to use computers occasionally to print out drawings and stuff like that. If I can give them a super sexy little USB token device, hardened device that goes on the keychain, and I tell them, look, just plug this in, and you don't have to specify a password, and you're in. They're gonna love it. They're gonna be, what, I have to use my keychain to unlock my workstation, just like I would unlock my cabinet when I put on my overalls? Wow, that's pretty dope, man. That's pretty cool. We have to consider security as something that always has exceptions, and we never want to aim for 100%. We want to aim for the 80% and deal with the rest. Okay. What about Twitter? Twitter is a good platform to discuss cyber. Misconception number 4. Is it really? Oh, Twitter, maximum character length in one tweet is 280. Hence, people start to tweet in series, like 20 tweets in a row, trying to argue some kind of concept. It's not a good platform, but it is where a lot of cyber security professionals hang out to discuss things. And the problem what we have in our industry, in our community, in my opinion, is how we handle security disclosures and public debates. The internet loves controversies. Let's just take a look at Zoom. How they were basically put out there as a company that should not be trusted because of why? Did they have many vulnerabilities? Yes, they had quite a few. Don't everyone have many vulnerabilities? If you take a look at any teleconferencing solution today, you are bound to find a plentiful of solutions, of vulnerabilities, excuse me. You're bound to find all of the similar things that you found in Zoom. They're going to be present in other solutions as well. Zoom is not unique in this term. Hence, what happened after the media and us professionals were done with Zoom, once we had chewed them up and spit them out again, what happened is that I have friends and family coming to me and saying, hey, you don't want to use Zoom, huh? Yeah, I don't want to talk to my friends anymore. I don't even go online anymore. I want to stay secure. I don't want to get hacked. People are now super afraid of vulnerabilities in Zoom that wasn't that big of a deal, you know? They weren't that bad. Hence, our voice carried out to the community that information, that Zoom is crap and teleconference solutions cannot be trusted. You shouldn't be using your computer at all. People, when we finally have a voice, let's not use it for when we don't need to use it, right? And with Zoom, I felt that we were shouting and we were basically doing too much stuff. The InfoSec community is not always right. Just keep this in your mind, okay? And there's sheep, there are wolves, and there's also shepherds in this community. Be one of the shepherds. Be analytical. Don't just retweet and share and go all fear-mongering over everything that you see. Just take a step back and consider what's the real impact for not you, not top secret organizations, for regular users, your mom and dad. What's the impact for them? Will they be okay? Can my buddy hang out with his other buddies over Zoom having beers? Or should he shut it off and be lonely? Right? These are the questions we need to ask ourselves. All right. Next misconception, number 5, prevention is everything. Now, hopefully you've heard this before, that this is of course not true anymore. I remember I was in like a vendor church. I'm not gonna out who the vendor was, but it was like, basically they were chanting their name of the product, like, and they were going like, prevention, prevention. And I'm like, what? It's all about detection, guys. There's always gonna be vulnerabilities in software. And if there's no vulnerabilities in the software, which there is, of course, there's going to be vulnerabilities in humans. There's always going to be that Bob who allows the attackers in. I just want to quickly zoom in to the fact that attackers are now getting faster and better, really, really fast. They're agile. They're quicker in pivoting once they got onto a system, doing lateral movement in your organizations. CrowdStrike reported last year that attackers now are down to, at least the Russians are down to 20 minutes before they have taken, from when they have taken over a computer system to when they have spread into other computer systems. That's how fast the attackers are right now. So unless you're able to detect, prevention won't work. You will be able to bypass the prevention. So you have to detect, and you have to detect it down to, well, now 20 minutes in order to survive that compromise not being able to spread. This does not work today because on the flip side, we spend a really long time doing detection, and that's a problem. And the problem arises, in my opinion, in the cybersecurity departments not being agile enough. We, as cybersecurity professionals, need to have the ability to drive direct impact in production environments. And everyone is saying, don't patch in production. And I'm saying, patching production, for God's sake, you've got 20 minutes. Well, maybe not patching production, but I'm going to talk about some concepts here that we need to consider, all right? On average, we have about 4.5 hours, considering all the threat actors, cybercrime gangs, and so on, based on the CloudSec report, until we got to do detection. So, and then also an action to kick them out, right? So we got to learn from Agile and the developers and DevOps and so on. We need to start considering incrementally doing deliveries, not just 100% at a time going full on. We need to start small and just small changes as we see fit. And I think this is a push against the terminology that we call SOAR, the terminology that we call SOAR, the security orchestration, automation, and response. What we need to do in order to survive in the future is we need to allow analysts, first of all, to improvise on data, right? You shouldn't just have analysts sitting in seats, looking at alarms and closing them based on what they see. You probably want to have your analysts to be able to get out of that box and investigate and dig into the data. You want to be able to conclude and act faster and allow yourself to react to what you see. For example, suspicious administrative access on a workstation. All right, what do you do? Well, does the analyst have a way to log into the machine and investigate using, say, an EDR tool and go pick apart things and understand who the administrator is, what it's doing there? Do we have that way for the analyst to improvise? Is there a way for that event to be described further? Maybe the platform can automatically segment away sensitive functions of the business when such an alert happens. To allow us to focus on SOAR and automation and also empowering security departments, we need to look into things like DevOps monitoring, where we are always paying attention to how many errors we're having, what's the performance of our applications, the availability and everything. And we need to have redundancy, maybe the ability to do A and B testing to release a patch, to do certain things. And we need to basically allow us to react. React to what? Well, in my opinion, react to your most important tactics, tools, and procedures that the bad guys are using. What are you concerned about? And you say, phishing, spear phishing, and business email compromise. Those things, I want to stop those things. All right, let's work on that. Let's take our analysts and let's see what they can do today when they get an alert. Can we enrich the data to give them more information that they need to do so they can conclude their investigations faster? Yes, no, maybe. And once they have concluded their investigations, what can they do within 20 minutes? Can they isolate the user? Can they change the password? Can they remove the email from everyone else's inbox? We got to decide that and try to terminate the threat before it's too late. And just keep in mind, bad guys are fast. They are not underdeveloped. They have tons of cash. Everyone wants to be a part of the cyber game. Those people we're up against. All right. That's one misconception, in my opinion, okay? This is just my opinions that I'm dumping on you, trying to create a healthy debate, trying to make you not necessarily think like me, but maybe challenge me and say, Chris, you're wrong because, and yeah, maybe I'm wrong. And honestly, sometimes I hope I'm wrong so that I can learn something from you. And that will make us both stronger, in my opinion. Here's the next misconception, number 6. It's hard to find reliable and trustworthy information online. Now, where can I hear something like this? Wikipedia is not reliable. YouTube is low quality. Stack Overflow has all vulnerabilities in it. I heard this when I was in an expert group. So I've been in a couple of these expert groups, and very often they're filled with a bunch of PhDs, okay? And I don't have anything negative to say about a PhD. It's just that one of the questions was, like, Chris, how do you ensure that information that you see online will actually work? Because my claim is that we can fix security. So this expert group was for the the businesses of Norway. Like the Norwegian government assigned this project to a group which I was a part on, and we worked to assess the security of businesses in Norway to help them thrive on the internet, right? And one of my assessments was, hey, today your IT security people and your IT operations and so on, they can just go Google something and they can figure out a possible solution for a problem. So how do you know that Google result is true? Well, how do you know which sources to trust? The thing is, we live in 2020. You can proof of concept today within a couple of hours. If I want a new domain controller set up right now, I can get it running right now on my Intel NUC NUC in the back of the room here. I can get any tool more or less up and running as a proof of concept really easy. I want to test the WAF when I have everything deployed through the WAF, and I want to try to see if my certificates are accessible and they're renewed automatically. I can demo this today using little money, using public clouds, for example. There are tons of free resources on how to get started with all kinds of things today. And all you have to do is Google, and you study, and you proof of concept. You try and you test. At least that's how I like to work. I'm a very practical person, and that has really worked for me since I started my career many, many years ago. Proof of concepts, demo, prove it. I want to make a shout out to DigitalOcean, because if you check out this link in their tutorials section, you will see they have more than 3,000 tutorials, high quality, mind you, showing you how to get all kinds of setups up and running. Or you want to try a load balance setup with sticky cookies in front of your software as a services, just to see if you can build that redundancy without having redundant aware web applications. You can do that right now. You can start building that, and maybe in a few hours, maybe in a few days, you will have a pod up and running. Even YouTube. I've had cases where I post something on YouTube, and then moments later I get a reply. This happened to me on Stack Overflow as well. I had a question, dynamically loading JSF beans in facelet templates. That was my questions on Stack Overflow when I was working with enterprise Java beans and I was developing. And I posted this question at December 29, 11:15. And one of the industry titans when it comes to Java server faces replied to me the very same day, 3 hours or ish later. Can you imagine that? I have a question. I'm troubleshooting, debugging, trying to figure out some weird, really weird problem. And all of a sudden, I had one of the legends come back to me, C, saying, oh, Chris, all you got to do is left and right do this and so and so. Wow, that's the internet for us. That is awesome. The thing is, a lot of people won't do this. A lot of people feel that technology is advancing way too fast and they can't stay on top of things. They just want to go home and drink coffee, which is perfectly fine. But in order to stay on top of things now in 2020, what we got to look at and think about is, for example, things as infrastructure as code. You should not deploy a server today unless that server and network and applications are deployed as a JSON file or whatever in a deployment pipeline. You need to consider that you should not RDP into a Windows server anymore to set it up. You do it via the command line, preferably via scripts only, to automate that flow of building machines, building networks, so that you can hit repeat, 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 repeat. Treat your servers not as pets. You know how you have that server named Dolly and you have that server called Scrooge and so on, and you look at Scrooge, he's been with us for like almost 10 years. He's such a powerhouse. No, 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 no. Treat your servers as cattle, not as pets. You need to be able to kill them and restart, recreate, get back up and running. This is the future. We need to define networks, applications, and servers as code in order to stay alive. That's my opinion. Also, configuration management. We need to look into how we can make configurations deployed in multiple configurations the same. So how we can basically have privileges handed out, how we can, for example, make configurations of software being controlled, configuration of servers, and so on. And just, I don't think there's a lot of luck looking outside of technologies such as, for example, Ansible, Chef, or Puppet. You probably need to be on top of this technology as well if you're going to stay in the driver's seat of technology in your organization. And also Docker. It's not going away anytime soon. It's a super way of getting a proof of concept up and running super fast. Like with Docker today, it depends on my bandwidth, but I can have like a Linux server or a container containing a huge, complex customer management system in Docker. I can have it deployed within a few minutes, right? And have everything up and running, ready to demo. In fact, that's going to be my next SANS at Night talk. It's going to be on doing security testing with Docker. I don't think you're going to get away from these three things here. That's my claim, okay? Deployment pipelines, configuration management, Docker as well. You're probably not going to get away from these things. They're probably going to come, and you need to be on board understanding this technology to the point where you can deploy it yourself. All right, next thing is, AV is dead. Misconception number 7, antivirus is dead. Now wait, application whitelisting is dead. Now wait, prevention is dead. I just said so. You can't do prevention. Detection is what it's all about. Now prevention, what about DLPs? DLPs is dead. The king is dead. Long live the king. That's how we operate in information security. And I don't like it. A lot of vendors do this. They say, AV is dead. Look at us. We're next generation AV. AV is not dead. You're on top of your game. Yes, it can be bypassed. Yes, some of them are really bad. In fact, I've been known to slander a lot of vendors because of ridiculous stuff they've been doing. But just because something can be bypassed or rendered useless doesn't automatically say that it's dead. It just means that it might need some updates, it might need some patching, love, and care. And if the vendor can't do that for you, for example, if the vendor never fixes the remote code executions and so on in the software that you bought from them, maybe it's time to ditch that vendor. Maybe that vendor is considered dead. But technology will not be dead just because something can be bypassed. It's really much alive. And many attackers, I would say most attackers, will most of the time get caught once. And once they know there's prevention in place, once they know there's antivirus, once they know so-and-so by being blocked, that's when they start to evade. And that one alert that you get, that's when you need to investigate. That's when you need to go in and understand, why did they get that alert? What's happening next? Put that next data into a context saying that we had a block. Are they now trying to evade? And that might allow you to stay alive longer. All right. So I realized that we're coming to an end here. I want to announce quickly that we have 2 up and coming SANS classes, which I'm teaching. You can check out them in my instructor webpage here. And they are basically running 12-day teach here. And then I have another teach here in June, July. And I promise you, every single hour of every single day of my classes is with this level of enthusiasm and passion. And it's really normally considered to be really great. You can see some of the feedback I got in the background here from my last class. This is just from one class. It is normally super successful running these classes over VLive. I know with COVID-19 and everything, the budgets are restrained, but people tend to fall in love with this platform and the way of teaching. We use Slack as a side gig to help us do questions and help me following up with all the students. We have moderators, we have teacher assistants, and so on. It is a great experience. I might see you there. I hope so. So thank you for listening. Now, I want to focus in on some of the questions. So let's see what we got here. If you add me on LinkedIn, by the way, which I would love to have you do that. Could you please tell me where you saw me from or where you know me from so I can try to pinpoint you away from all the recruiters and the freelancers who want to sell me stuff? That would be so cool. All right, let's see. So, dark web groups seems like a scary place for some really illicit stuff. Anonymity doesn't seem, that's a good comment out there. All right, so that's a lot of friendly comments out there. Loving this. That is really useful advice, simple advice. Okay. Yeah, gotcha. Hi, so his level of passion is great. Unfortunately, this is how SMBs think. Yes, I agree. SMBs and many organizations can be hard to change, right? Politics, I don't deal very well with politics, but what I like to do, especially as a consultant, I like to step on people's toes. I like to say, this is how it is. And we can prove how it is in many cases doing a pen test, for example. We can prove you that the current setup, for example, is easy to break so that we can better focus our defenses for later. And very often, you just have to get the right ideas coming across. And that's normally done via not necessarily going above someone's heads with technology and so on, but putting them in this position where you are allowing them to properly understand what we're looking at here. The rule is multi-factor authentication, and most of the organization will be able to comply with that if you implement it correctly, that is. You're not supposed to challenge someone every 30 minutes with their code. No, you're supposed to have discretionary access control so that when you look different, that's when you're challenged with a multi-factor authentication and so on. But most of the time, we can get the points coming across neat and nicely and let the C-levels decide on the right material. If you're online, you can use a password manager, or you just need to learn. So basically, the password manager that I'm using is, so that was a question, by the way, or a statement, but the password manager I use is KeePass. And I have KeePass linked up to Dropbox, and Dropbox is on my phone, and I have KeePass on my phone. Now, KeePass on my phone will also cache the database from Dropbox, so that if I'm in an area without internet accessibility or availability whatsoever, I still have the database with me at all times. In fact, I've been using Dropbox now for 7 to 8 years. Maybe I'm running on 8 right now. I have more than 1,000 accounts online. All of them have strong, secure, long, unique passwords. All of them. I have 2 passwords I need to remember. One to open up my laptop, one to open up my database. It's secure enough for me, and it's worked in every occasion, even when I've been in bunkers, even when I need to type in passwords where I can't copy paste, I can use auto-typing and so on. Flame wars based on 2 quick conclusions. I agree. I went to the University of Google. That's a funny one, Paul. Say, Docker is quick, but what about the regular old VMs? Yeah, that's true. You can still go with regular old VMs. That's perfectly fine, perfectly accessible. However, Docker is more available. So Docker runs on Linux. Well, you can run it on Windows too, but it just uses the Windows subsystem for Linux. However, Docker is just a simple command. Docker pull name of the image, then Docker build name of the image, Docker run, and you're up and running. You don't need to download, well, you download, but you don't need to have all this setup. And Docker also allows you to intertwine multiple setups. Multiple containers can share information with one another and talk to one another and so on. There's little overhead, and it's quite nice. It's all using the namespace features of Linux, and it can be quite performance, good for performance, I would say. How would you suggest including the old foggies in the SMB value work chain? So that's a perfect question. It's a really good question in my opinion. I think that you don't need to change people to become more secure necessarily. I think there's always a way to mitigate risk, not necessarily remove the risk completely. So with the old foggies, for example, I just tell them, look, here's an alternative, their old foggy, whatever. If you don't want to comply to our strict regulation of having at minimum 16-character passwords, long, unique per service, and so on, which is the requirements for Norwegian governments right now. This is what normal people should be doing. 16 or longer, unique passwords everywhere, all right? So it's impossible to do without a password manager. So for those who cannot do this, we just simply say, all right, for you, here's an exception. You will have to use your keychain to log in every day, all right? So if you want to open a service, you want to do something, you will need to put in a keychain that will allow you to log into Windows Active Directory. And for services where the keychain or the multi-factor token can't pass through Windows and onto the other services, you will have to, for example, limit your privileges, maybe limit your levels of access and so on. And for doing this, I would recommend that you use your existing, like say, group policies or the existing user management databases that you already have, so that HR and help desk can deal with these problems when they arise, not necessarily the security department having to do everything. All right, let's take another question or two. So, is information security as a profession, advisor, implementer only for technically skilled persons, or do we also need other types of skills to add to the team? So I do believe that information security teams should be multidisciplinary, not just technicians. you know technicians, right? And I'm one of them, right? We can be so stubborn, so we can't always see the solutions, even though they're right in front of our noses. But you definitely want to have a good, different skill sets on your team, not just technicians. You want to have the people, the visionaries, the people who can set in strategies and implement policies, get the people on board, and so on. Would you recommend some risk management training for security folks? Maybe yes. I'm sorry, I don't have a good recommendation to make for you on top of my head. Yeah. All right, I guess that's it, folks. I hope you liked the talk. I hope you liked the show and the content. If you have any discussions, you want to include me in those discussions on Twitter, for example, sure, go ahead. But just remember, Twitter is not the best place to argue over these things, right? Maybe a blog post is better, maybe on LinkedIn, for example. But yeah, please do follow me for updates and so on. And I'll also put out the slides on Twitter and on LinkedIn. And I want to thank you all for listening. And yeah, have a great week to come and a weekend when that time comes. And I hope you're all going to stay safe during COVID-19 and health and prosperity to all your friends and family and yourself. Thank you very much.